Let's talk about the NFL, most specifically Cincinnati, Ohio. They get Jamar Chase and T. Higgins' deals done. Jamar Chase becomes the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the NFL, $40.25 a year. You see, if Myles Garrett's going to get 40, I'll get a little bit more than that. He certainly did. And T. Higgins becomes the highest paid number 2 wideout in the history of the NFL, both over $100 million. Now, granted, the Super Bowl champions have paid 2 wideouts at a very high clip. They also paid a quarterback a high number. They've now paid their running back at a high number, and they were able to win the Super Bowl. Now, they had a lot of young dogs on the defense. They were able to build up an offensive line and become the best in the NFL and go on a run. What does this deal or these deals say to you, AJ? And what is most important now for the Bengals to get back into the relevancy of the Super Bowl? They're going to be able to score. They're going to be able to light it up. I think if they hit on a couple key pieces, welcome back Bengals. Is that how you're feeling? And is that how Ohio feels?
Yeah, I feel like this is a turning point for the Bengals as a franchise, as an organization. What do you think of when people think of the Bengals? They think, oh, they're family run, they're cheap, they don't want to spend money, they're not going to do this. But we know we've talked about the indoor facility they have now, and I didn't think there was a chance that they were going to sign both these guys. I thought they were only going to be able to find a way to get Jamar done. But I believe Rap Sheet last week said it's definitely possible that they're going to get both these guys done. And now they're talking about their ongoing talks with Trey Hendrickson. If they can get Trey back as well, then this is like turning the page. This is a new Bengals organization.
Before we dive into Trey Hendrickson, for these 2 dudes, congratulations.
Unreal.
Yeah.
And to your point about Cincinnati Bengals spending money, to the Bengals fans, congratulations.
Yeah.
This is a fantastic time to be a Bengals fan. You got a quarterback from Ohio. He's got his pieces that he absolutely loves, and your team's investing and doing business. You talk about that indoor facility. He also sold the naming rights to the stadium for the first time in the history. So it's like, welcome to the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm excited to see if it works out. Now, with Trey Hendrickson, there's been a lot of different reports. I believe Diana Rossini tweeted sources say Cincinnati is working to retain Trey Hendrickson and discussions are ongoing between the two sides. The Bengals are attempting to do what many in the league thought difficult and keep and pay all 3 of their stars. Then Jeremy Fowler put out a tweet this morning that was basically alluding to the same thing about the pieces that would have to fall in place for a deal with Trey Hendrickson to take place. That feels difficult. That feels like
really difficult.
That feels like a very tough move at this particular case, especially what the market is for a sack king like player. Hopefully, we'll be able to learn more over the next few days. But this one feels very difficult. So I understand that they've said that they were going to sign T and Jamar, and T even put out a cap thing, and then they get the deal done. And I understand they said they're going to sign Trey Hendrickson as well. But in the modern world, this one feels like it's going to be difficult to get done just because he's coming off his best season. He's the best in the league. And this is potentially the last time deal is going to happen for Trey. So that'll be impressive. If Duke does this, you're talking about magician with this entire thing, and obviously we're pulling for him.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem possible. Like if you look at Max Crosby, what'd he get? $91.5 million guaranteed, and then Myles Garrett got $110 million guaranteed. I forget if that number's correct, but it was north of $100 million. And both those guys didn't have the year that Trey Hendrickson did. And sure, Trey's 30, 31, but then there's reports about teams from GMs that they're calling, and the asking price for Trey is impossible to meet. Yeah, so it does feel like one of those situations where, unfortunately for Trey Hendrickson, he's about to bite the hey, this is how Cincinnati does business bullet.
No, Cincinnati's new business.
Yeah, well, we know how that works. And the T and Jamar thing is incredible. The fact that they could get that done is awesome. But, you posted something on X last night, and it was just a question. Is this style of ball, is pouring $125 million in cap hit between your quarterback and 2 wide receivers, is this, a way to get back to the Super Bowl? Yeah, there it is. Can Cincy make it back to the Super Bowl? And I think if we've learned anything from the past 2 Super Bowls, no is the answer. And I know it stinks for Cincy. And
Eagles paid 2 guys. They paid a quarterback.
Yeah, for $100 million less than what the Cincinnati Bengals just did.
But salary cap went up.
But the salary cap did go up, absolutely. But the thing is, too, the Eagles have those very pivotal positions on defense locked in with the draft. And Cincinnati can, absolutely draft guys. And I saw a report that was kind of mind-blowing, and that was that the Bengals are really going to have to nail their draft picks on defense, which, holy shit, I didn't even think of that. Maybe they do that, and then they're fine, and it doesn't really matter. But the thing with the Eagles is they did nail their draft picks, all of them, at the most important positions, the D-line and the corners. And so it's one of those situations. And, the Chiefs even and the Rams going back to the Super Bowl from the 2023 season, like that was a ground and pound, like, hey, we're going to beat you up, we're going to hold on to the ball, it's going to be, possession, versus what Cincinnati seems to be fixing to do, which is still electrifying football. Like that, it is cool to watch them throw it all over the yard, and a lot of fantasy teams are going to have their players.
The Eagles have the best offensive line in football.
Boom.
That's a whole other conversation about whenever you start comparing the team. Well, they paid 2 wide receivers, paid the quarterback, even paid the running back. It's like they have the best offensive line in ball. They lose Jason Kelsey, still have the best offensive line in
prepared.
Football. That is a massive ordeal. Like, can Joey B stay upright? If he can, the offense can go. Now, how are you going to stop the other team? And are you going to be able to give your defense enough rest? I don't know. I'm excited to see their vision, because obviously Duke is a good football mind. They were in a Super Bowl just a few years ago. Yeah. So can they replicate that? We shall see.
Yeah, if I'm a Bengals fan, I'm spinning it like this and I've watched terrible offensive football over the last however many years. I think it's easier to get better quicker on the defensive side. So if you are going to pay a side, I think the right side to pay is offense. So because you're not going to it's just the Eagles went from 26th in 2023 in defense. They get a new DC, which the Bengals are going to do. And then as long as you hit on your first 2 draft picks and they're incredible corners, and they turn out to be great, and you're off your defensive line youngins, they're playing well too. You get pretty good on defense pretty quickly.
Okay, so congrats to the Bengals and today's boys. Trey Hendrickson, I don't want to be a bearer of negative news, but that feels like that's going to be tough. That feels like that's going to be tough. Only 1 year left on his deal. This is from Jeremy Fowler. A few things to keep in mind as the Bengals try to extend Trey Hendrickson. Uptick in talks occurred late last week before the Higgins-Chase started to get locked in. There's definitely trade interest, but the Bengals have not shown an eagerness to deal him. Okay, we've heard the same thing. This will inevitably be a new money issue. Currently owed $16 million in 2025, so even since he offers 2 years, $60 million, that makes 3 for $76. This dynamic is a factor here. Yeah, because 90-something became number for Max just a few weeks ago. So, how will they be able to do it? Duke was able to get it done with the wide receivers, so hopefully he'll be able to do it with Trey, but that seems unlikely. But if it is unlikely, how come they won't
let him go
entertain some trade talks?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's all they're negotiating through the media as well, I would imagine. They want to get if they're going to deal him, they want you to, hey, come throw us a few first-round picks or something.
Yeah,
which isn't going to happen. But.
No chance.
Yeah, I think that's potentially what has been happening, Yeah. Hey, you want Trey Hendrickson? Sweet. We need 4 ones. We're not going to do that.
Oh, we got to pay him too?
Oh, okay.
All
right, we'll do it. You guys said you wanted them. We have them.
What DK go for? DK Metcalf, different position?
Second.
But, yeah, okay.
Well, everybody wants a first and something. And then all of a sudden reality sets in.
Yeah.
And it's like, we'll take a second. Yeah, we'll take a second. We'll do that for sure. And then some guys go for an absurd haul.
Oh, yeah.
You are exactly what you're worth, and your worth is what somebody's willing to give. And that is just kind of how it all works out.